My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Most Haunted City on Earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And today we have Tiff from Tiff's Ghost Talk on the show.
Hi, everybody.
We're so excited to have her, and we're going to be doing my favorite ghost stories today. So we're really excited to hear all of Tiff's lovely ghost stories, and I guess have a ghost talk with you. But
yeah,
it's going to be
sounds
awesome.
good.
Now, before we get into everything, we are going to have a few announcements for y'all. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible, but they are a little bit heavier today because it has been a very trying week, to say the least. And also to give you guys a little bit of understanding of why we haven't been as active online currently. For those of you who don't live in the southeast of the U.S., Hurricane Helene is, has absolutely wrecked this part of the U.S. In so many numbers of ways. And basically, it has affected JT and I's family. My parents were trapped in Western North Carolina due to all the flooding and they got out. They thanks to a ton of very kind strangers, they hiked through mudslides and all stuff. They're in Charlotte now. Yeah, they're in Charlotte now, so they're good, they're safe, they're showered, all that jazz. But they had that going on. Chris has been recovering from surgery without power. Yeah, it's been a nightmare, which is partially why absolutely why we had to reschedule this meeting with you, Tiff. Our podcast studio's building got its roof ripped off, so it's been a time, everybody.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I know a lot of people are also feeling the effects from this storm right now, and we're trying to at least bring a little bit of awareness to the situation that's going on so that if you feel so compelled or you feel it in your heart to donate to any organizations in the areas that were affected, because there are some people that are going to really, really need it, I recommend donating to the Red Cross or any organizations that are bringing relief to it. We are personally doing a fundraiser for our friends that own Micaville Outpost. If that name sounds familiar to you, we did an episode with them a couple months ago because they have a ton of cursed and haunted objects in this store.
Yeah, a quirky little roadside attraction.
Mm-hmm. And really sweet people, just awesome folks that ran that shop. Well, unfortunately, where it is located, it absolutely got washed away by this flash flooding. So we are currently running a fundraiser to try to help them get back on their feet and help in any possible way we can. So if you would like to donate to a group that really care about the paranormal, they have been doing really wonderful work on the paranormal front in Western North Carolina. We have a link to that in our bio. So if you were affected by this storm or your loved ones were, and you're somehow listening to this, we feel for you, and we hope that you guys are going to recover from it soon, and everything will get better because that's what we do. But
indeed.
On a little bit of a happier note, we are still going to be doing our collaboration episode with And That's Why We Drink on October 3rd. We're really excited to have them on the show and talk about their new book, talk about all the ghosty things. So that's going to be really fun. And I know they're excited as well. And we appreciate them taking some time out of their very busy tour schedule to come and yak with us for a little bit. So we're going to be doing that. Also, and that is going to go live on October 8th for the public. October 3rd, the Parajunkies will get to see it and they'll get to watch it live. So they'll be able to talk with us during that episode. So if that's something you're looking to do, definitely consider joining us over on Patreon. And then last but not least, our fantastic merch designer, Elle, who's in the live stream right now, has come up with some really cool designs for our October merch drop. So the design's going to be announced soon, but it's really, really cute. You guys are going to love it. I love it. Elle just keeps outdoing herself every time we do these merch drops. So if you guys are looking to get some more merchandise out there or some new spooky clothes, wink, wink, definitely keep your eyes out for that. But enough ramblings. Let's get into the ghost talk.
Woo.
So,
Yay.
so Tiff, my first question I guess I have for you, I always like to ask when we do this segment, what was the experience that got you into the paranormal?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so apparently ever since I was like 2, I've been able to see ghosts. I used to have like this imaginary friend that I would talk about. And then a cool thing about her is when I started doing all of this and kind of took off on TikTok and everything, I started looking through old photos because my mom was like, I remember exactly when you were like, hey, let's take a picture. Susan wants to be in the photo and all of this stuff. And then the way I described her, we actually found a photo where you can see her standing behind me from like the 80s.
That's amazing.
I know, it was crazy and it kind of scared me a little bit. I can't lie about that. But when we first moved into our new home, I was like 8. The previous owners, she set me down while my mom was like going through the house and getting a tour from the husband. And she was like, I would live here forever if I could. And she meant it because like 2 months later, she passed away. And then 2 months after that, ghostly things started happening at the house. So,
Wow.
yeah, seeing her all of the time, her moving things. And she grabbed my ankle one time when she was, I don't think she meant to scare me as bad as she did. But yeah, I was coming down the ladder on a bunk bed and I saw like her hand come out and like grab my ankle. Yeah, so it like scared me. So I guess I would say since that point, yeah, that would be when I just
And did
kind
you
of got
find
into
yourself
it.
just kind of drawn to everything paranormal at that point? I mean, did you find yourself just, if anybody mentioned something spooky, you're like, oh, that resonates with me?
Yeah, I could relate really well. And then I've always kind of been able to tell if a place was haunted or not. Like I could see where the ghosts were, I guess you would say. And so I don't know. At first, when I was younger, I just kind of thought like active imagination, and then as I got older, it became more specific. And then people would be like, oh, yeah, this person. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of been like my whole life kind of thing. And then once I got on TikTok and started doing videos and things like that, and then it really started taking off. And now it's kind of like, you guys know how it is. It's 24/7. That's all I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when once people are aware of what it is you like,
hmm
everybody just starts sending it to you. It's like that person who's like, I like elephants, and now their house is full of like elephant
Yeah.
statuettes because everyone's like, oh, I know what you like. You like elephants, so I'll give you elephants. With us,
Yeah.
it's we like creepy things. It's like, oh, here's all the creepy stuff we can find. It's like,
Right. All I
dang,
could all I could think about when you guys were talking about your friends that had all of the haunted things is like now all of that's kind of like on the loose. Like now all of the
Right.
stuff that they
yeah,
had, like where is it? Like where is it now? Because some of the videos that I've seen, they're like, okay, well, this used to be like a horse, like, area where all the horses were at. And then there were 5 feet of like rock now that was just stacked up. And so you're like, okay, well, what's buried in there? Will they ever unearth it again? So now all of that stuff that they had, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just, who knows now, right?
Well,
So,
and I trust me, I've been thinking the same thing since I heard how bad the damage was because what's really concerning about their objects is a lot of them had to live in boxes
right.
and had to be regularly blessed by this old mountain woman named
oh
Minnie.
my God,
Um,
I
and
can't even. Yeah.
yeah, and Minnie was like, I think one of the I don't want to butcher her background,
Right,
but
sure.
she was an exorcist of sorts. Um,
hmm
and so I'm like, what are they going to do without Minnie? They're just going to cause havoc. And a lot of the items were collected from Minnie doing exorcisms. And
Well, and possessed items and possessed objects, something that people don't completely become aware of is the idea that the spirit that associates itself with an object is kind of hoping that the object will break.
I know. That's what I was just thinking. Like
It's
all of that is
basically
open now.
it's the new body, and when the body dies, the spirit is released, and people don't completely understand that correlation is the spirit got into the doll, and then the doll breaks, and you're like, oh,
What's
that's
it in now?
new release. It gets a new chance to enter our world. It has
I know.
a little more potent power, a little more ability to be, a more functioning haunt. And you're like, oh, great.
Yeah, it's just like,
what happened? That's
hello.
why
It comes-
you never burn a haunted object,
I know.
because
Yeah.
burning a haunted object is such a total destruction of the material that leaves that spiritual residue so strong. And so it's like, no, you bless it, give it a proper burial if you can, do
Right.
these acts that are very much about containing the spirit. But yeah, when so many of them are in one spot and that spot gets devastated, you're like, oh no.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that's what now I won't be able to sleep because that hadn't occurred to me until you said that. And then while you were telling that story, I was just like, just
You're like, oh no.
I was like immediate panic set in because I'm like, oh no, I didn't even think about that. It's crazy.
Goodness. So now there's a bunch of haunted objects also on the loose.
Sure.
So if you stumble upon something creepy,
Or the spirits that once inhabited haunted
yeah,
objects now on the loose, looking for new objects.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. I know it makes you not even want to like dig into anything because you're just like, don't
And
if you
we
find
talk about
any
that too a
boxes,
lot. Is people are always thinking that it has to be like an old antique and creepy object. It does not. It can
no,
be literally
Mhm.
anything. It
yeah,
can be a salt and pepper shaker. It can be
you're right. Exactly. It's kind of like the Horcruxes from Harry Potter.
exactly. It's
It's
very much.
exactly what it's like. Yeah,
Do you
that's
have any
wild.
haunted objects?
I don't own any. And I'm a big stickler on staying away from like Ouija boards because when I was little, one of the main things is I went to one of my this new girl came to school. Her parents knew my mom and dad really well. And my mom's like, hey, why don't you go over there for like a sleepover? And while I'm over there, she keeps like randomly like looking to the corner. So I'm like, like what is she looking at? And then she had some little sisters, and little sisters are like, oh, well, she's looking at that lady. And I'm like, what lady? Like where's she at? And then you see like, well, I saw like these fingers reach around like the door thing and then like retreat. So then we go to get ready for bed, and her dad had built this log cabin thing and had built in these bunk beds in that thing. So I was going to be sleeping in the second one, which looked cool at first, but then you're kind of like, because it was kind of like a coffin or something, you're like sleeping in the wall. It was just like this little dome thing. And she goes to get ready for bed and she had jeans on. And I'm like, why are you wearing jeans? Like, what's up with the jeans? And her little sister is like, oh, well, the woman scratches her legs at night. I'm like, sorry? Like, what woman scratches her legs at night? So I'm in the bed and then I hear like this, like, like scratching noise. And I'm like, what? So I peek over the side and there's like this woman. She's like completely solid, like black, and then her hair looked like she was underwater, and she's just like scratching down the legs. So I look at my friend and my friend's like, shh. And I'm like, oh my God. So then the next morning I find out, I was like, what is going on? And underneath the bottom bunk, there was like a little nook. She drags out this homemade Ouija board that she had like made.
nope, 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 nope.
I was like, girl, no, no, no. Like, no. Yeah, she'd made it and they hadn't put two and two together yet. I was like, you got to get rid of that. And she was like, oh no, I'll burn it or whatever. I was like, no, 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 no,
Oh,
no.
no, no,
Like
no.
I knew like little, I was like, no, 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 don't burn it. And then I don't feel bad because I kind of like ghosted her after that because, like I was just,
No pun intended.
yeah, 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 like none. And I was terrified that she was going to be like, oh, can I come to your house? I'm like, girl, no, 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 you cannot. Yeah, no. Yeah. So everybody's like, when I told that story on TikTok, everybody was like, well, what happened to her? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. She was cool with sleeping in
I
jeans
remember you
and
telling that story on TikTok.
yeah,
Because
I
you
have to know.
described the woman's fingers as like brown and in the dirt, like she had
Yeah,
been digging
yeah,
dirt.
like had been digging and they weren't
That's
like,
really just eerie. We actually had a we get ghost mail from listeners, and somebody had told us a story about being haunted by this crazy fingered,
oh no.
and
Yeah.
we were like, that's so eerie. It's such an eerie thing because when you think of like long and stringy fingers and the
Yeah.
idea of the scratching down the leg, it's like, oh no, don't. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
as like grandma ghost, I can't get behind either, like that. They scare me.
You
Grandma
watched
ghost and kid ghost. It's a no for me.
Yeah, well, there's something, no offense to any of our elderly listeners, um, there's
Oh my
something
God.
so unnerving about an elderly spirit where it's like, ooh, like, I don't
They're
know.
always so fast. Why are they
Right.
so
And,
fast? I know.
and there comes that moment when you think about all the ghost stories that you've heard in your life, and you realize that a lot of the times spirits will come back, but they'll come back in forms that they're most comfortable in. So like you'll see younger versions of people who died. People will be like, you show up at the house and it's like, I saw this man in dashing uniform. It's like, oh, well, that
Yeah.
was Grandpa Joe when he was in World War I, but,
Yeah.
died at 90, but you saw him, in his uniform. But if they're coming back looking like bedraggled, nightmare
Yeah.
fuel,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's what you're comfortable as?
Yeah.
That's
You're
what
like,
you want to show yourself as? You show up
why
kind
are
of
you like
like,
that?
no. You're like, no, no,
He's
no,
been
no.
planning that. He's been just waiting. He's like, when I get that old, I'm just going to hang on to that and come back
No.
and scare everybody.
We'll
Yeah.
let it all hang out.
Yeah. It's a no for me.
And didn't your brother see a skinwalker?
Oh
Is
my
that
gosh.
part of the
Yes.
story
And
too?
and that was like probably my first video that went like super viral. But because I told the story because I could not get over his reaction. Like he literally is just like the most chill, doesn't get scared at all. And he calls me and he's like, "Hey, I just saw this like really weird thing." And the weird thing about that is the helicopters that were like circling
Sure.
over, right? And he said that they shined the spotlight on his front door. So he's like, okay, who's coming to get me? Like, what's this about? And he said, so he goes outside and it's standing out there. And so he's describing it to me. And he's like, yeah, the back end was higher than the front. And he's like hunted his whole life. So if it was any kind of like anything, he would have recognized it right away. And he said that it was like wet looking, but you know, he said that the legs were like all bent back and like distorted. And to me, it sounded like those rake things, that
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
everybody
yeah, yeah.
talks about, right? And which everybody's like, oh, it's like a creepy pasta thing or whatever. But all of this stuff originates from somewhere, right? Like if somebody
Exactly.
makes up something, it's because somebody at some point has seen one of these things. And then he said it like stood up and was like huge, and then it jumped over the neighbor's fence and it like took off before he could even like register. So I'm like, okay, well, I gave him like 2 seconds, if even long enough for me to just like Google to show. And he sketched it out like really quickly. And so we switched at the same time. And he goes, yep, that's it. He's like, weird. All right. And then that was it. And he was like, I'm going to bed. And I was like, how do you just, what? So to me, like the cool part about that story is that he just did not care. He was like, whatever, or I would have freaked out. And then everybody was like, I strive to be as unbothered as your brother. I was like, you and me both, because no. But then I found out from a friend of mine that she said that like out on the West Coast, like where, it's more like native and things, that it had always been said that if you see them, it's because they're trying to run them out of the city, like the helicopters, like
Oh,
if the
sure.
Oh,
helicopters are
Right.
like chasing them down. And I'm like, what? So then now every time like a helicopter flies by, I'm like, where's it at? What are they looking for?
where's the
'Cause
skinwalker?
I do not want to see that like at all. No, that is not a thing.
That sounds exactly to a T what I
Oh, yeah.
saw at the
Up at the
Conjuring
Conjuring
House.
House.
No
Yeah,
way. For real?
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
was exactly like that, and that's how I described it. The rake was how I
Yeah.
described it to everybody because I was like, that's the only thing I can compare this to.
Right.
And,
Did it
and the
look
Rick
wet? Did it
literally
look
come.
wet
Yes,
too?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was
That's
wet.
It
what
was
he was saying.
white. It was like
Yes, that's what he
super
said.
palish, kind of, yeah,
He said
very,
it had
very
like a
funny.
human type head kind
Mhm.
of, but like,
The rest,
he's yeah, yeah. And he said it was just like like the way that it's like arms and stuff were bent back. So you saw that there too. Was it
yeah,
outside or like in the house?
it was outside. Yeah,
Yeah. It was right on the property. And we had just heard what sounded like Native American drums just shortly
Oh,
before.
for real? Oh, goodness. Yeah. He said he didn't hear anything, but see, that was like a year ago or something, but not too long ago, he called me and he was like, I think it's back. He's like, I can't see it, but I can hear it. And he said that the tree limbs that were breaking was about this equal height of like, he could tell, that it was like higher up off the ground. And then he said, like, he yelled out, like, I know you're out there. I'm like, what were you going to do? What were you going to do?
right.
Like, what was your plan? What was the plan after that? And, he said that he could like feel, you know how you can feel something staring at you, and then he
Yeah.
said then it just like kind of stopped. Stop doing that, dude. Like, please quit. He just
And
didn't care.
where's your brother located in the
He's
country?
not, he's here in Kentucky. He's not far from me. He's
Okay.
like, yeah, 10 minutes from my house,
Yeah,
like here.
it becomes so strange because we've taken on parlance
Mhm.
for these creatures. We call them skinwalkers, but really skinwalker is more a Navajo word.
Yes, right, yeah.
But it's become blanket because so many people have that experience. And it's funny you bring up the rake too, because
Mhm.
I fully believe that the rake was somebody tapping into a fear that everybody kind of has.
Right.
And people have seen things like it and they report things like it. And it's like, well, what if I created, a cryptid out of that? Is like, yeah, there's a consciousness there. It wouldn't have taken off. So many people would not have responded
Right.
if it wasn't something lingering in their system about how strange and the Slender Man phenomenon.
Right. Well, it's kind of like mermaids too, right? Because
Mhm.
everybody had like the carvings of the mermaids,
Mhm.
these countries that had never even crossed paths and they had the same carvings of these mermaids. So you're like, okay, well, that's coming from somewhere. So yeah, I agree. It's crazy.
It really is. And I think what I was going to ask you next is I'm always curious to pick people's brains when they can see spirits
Hmm.
often. Because I can too, and I haven't come across very many people who have that intense of an ability.
Hmm.
So I'm going to ask, because I'm sure this is what everybody's thinking. What is the scariest entity that you've seen?
The Hat Man by far. Like that's
Hmm.
yeah, that's the one that's scared me the most. That's the only one that's like stuck with me. You know how like sometimes you'll see them and you're just kind of like, and then everybody's like, why do you get scared? And I'm like, well, it's the same as like if you saw a mouse, you get like startled. That's just like a
Right.
human reaction. But like after you see one that is not intimidating, you just kind of like let it go. But the Hat Man, I didn't even know the first time I saw him, it was like 2003. It was 2014 before I knew that that was like a worldwide thing. And as soon as I read that, like it was like a Facebook article or whatever, I slept with the lights on for like 2 weeks because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to come back. I just thought, but he just seemed so, I don't know. Have you seen him? Have you ever seen him?
Oh, yep. Yep.
And interestingly enough, we've gone on a journey. This podcast has gone on a journey with the Hat Man. The Hat Man is one of our like most popular returning entities because we kind of brought it up in that not many people know it, but the people who do know it understand, and it's like it's a phenomenon. And what's most interesting to me is a lot of times you'll talk to somebody who's never heard of the Hat Man,
Uh-huh.
but as you talk to them, they slowly start to realize that they've had a Hat Man experience. you
Yeah.
know and I've never had that level of correspondence where it's like, oh well, the Hat Man's kind of this phenomenon. He seems to be kind of a watcher. He kind of, in the corner, da 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 da. And then people are like, oh my God, when I was 14 years old, and they'll tell this story. It's like, yeah, that's a Hat Man story.
Yeah.
And
Ugh.
it's so bizarre.
Yeah, and he like got in my face. So he like
Oh,
leaned down. Yeah, he started off like in the doorway and I woke up and I could feel like somebody in the door, like you're kind of like trying to wake up anyway and I can't really see without my glasses contact. So I was like, what is that? Cuz he filled the entire door, and then he starts like coming closer and he had that gray duster, like I could see like the flaps on the dusters, like all this stuff, but he had no detail on his face. And then when I first saw him, I would describe him to people that he had like Carlos Santana hair because he had those real tight ringlet curls, right? That hit like right here. And then I'd say he had like a Justin Timberlake hat, which was a fedora, at the time, because like I said, it was like 2003. But when I saw him, he was wearing a fedora. Like I could see everything. So he gets closer to the bed and the whole time I'm like, my ex-husband at the time, I'm like, where is he? Because I'd like slid my foot over. I knew he wasn't in the bed. And then he got to like where I was at. And so all these things are going through my mind. Like, do I yell out, like, where's, my ex at the time or whatever? And then he like leans down and gets like in my face, like trying to see. I'm like, is he trying to see if I'm awake or like what's going to happen? And at that time, I hear my ex coming down the hallway. And right as he got to where the door was at, he raises up, turns to look at him, and he's just like gone, just instant like that. And I like yelled out, I was like, did you see that man standing right here? He was like, oh, you were dreaming. I was like, do I look like I was asleep? Like I fully saw him. And then I saw him one more time in the reflection of a bathroom window. He walked past the bathroom door. He didn't stop.
cool.
He just like passed
Oh,
by. And that, knock on wood, that I've only seen him twice, and that was 2 times too many for me. Yeah, he's huge.
No, it's such a terrifying entity, and you've got a lot of details because a lot of people, he's so in shadow that they can only
Mhm.
make out that he seems to be wearing an overcoat, and
Mhm.
and the variation of hat is interesting. We've
Mhm.
heard Kirby, we've heard top hat, we've heard fedora.
Mhm.
Um, when I was young, I had stumbled upon I guess he's a cryptid from England called Spring-Heeled Jack.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Spring-Heeled Jack, very strange character. He apparently can jump over buildings and stuff like that, and he used to show up. But one of the descriptions was he wore a wide brim hat, and the only thing that you really saw of any facial features was he had dull red eyes, and
Um,
sometimes he breathed out sulfur smoke.
Mm.
oh, yeah.
And for some reason, that always stuck in my head as a possible Hatman sighting. Somebody
Yeah.
saw this thing because they'd only see him from a certain distance, and they would, and you're one of the few people, because we've had a couple of people talk about him coming up, because in my prior to the podcast, my understanding of the Hat Man was he was usually either outside the door frame, like
Mhm.
standing in the hall, or
Mhm.
outside the building looking in. He was a watcher. And we kind of classified him as a watcher ghost, but we started getting ghost mails, and we started getting correspondence where people were like, he comes right in. One person said he spoke,
Mhm.
which was
Oh.
a new to me too, was never heard that he spoke. And so it's this is interesting how the story is progressing, and we get
Mhm.
to people and I'd say 9 times out of 10, it is their most harrowing experience.
Yeah. Ooh,
And
and
that tells
I
you
don't even
something
like
too.
talking about him because I'm scared that's gonna
Yeah,
summon
it's gonna
him.
bring it up.
I
Right.
was like, he's like, oh, did someone say my name? I'm like, no, no,
It's
no.
been a
whatever."
while.
Yeah, he's like, hello. I'm like, no, 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 go away, please. But yeah, he's the scariest one by far, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think your story is the first time we've heard that he's had hair.
Right.
So that's going to go into
I
the
thought that was
category.
really interesting too. He has long.
Yeah, it was right here, and the real tight
Makes perfect sense.
ringlets. And they almost, that's why I said Carlos Santana, because they look gelled, because I
And
was
shiny.
looking him over
Right.
good,
Okay.
because I'm like, if something's happening, and I get away like that, I had enough time to think all those things through. Like it happened slowly but fast at the same time. It was weird. But yeah, when I posted my Hatman story on TikTok, I had a lot of people comment that they had seen him with hair as well, but he had the curly hair. But
Interesting.
they would say oh, he had curly hair, but he had a cowboy hat on. So I'm like, why the different hats? That's a thing that I've kind of why
Well, and
does
a lot of them will have the collar meeting the hat. So
yeah,
you can't see any of this. So
yeah.
whether he had long hair or not, the description of the duster, which is very interesting too, because duster is not a universal article of clothing.
Right.
You
And
know,
who wears a duster with a fedora? I'm like,
Right?
that's just it.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
then it's was it a fedora, or was it like the older cowboy hats that weren't quite as, they
Well,
looked, but
my dad trained horses like my whole life, so I feel like I would recognize the cowboy hat, but I know that some people have seen him in the cowboy hat, but this was a very
well, I think about
the small brim, very typical 1920,
trilby
30,
looking
yeah, those
fedora.
kind of
Well,
fedoras.
I think the person who's I had a friend who had a Hatman encounter, and she said he wore a bowler hat, and as near as she could tell, he was very clean, like
Oh,
like
yeah.
he didn't have hair at all. She saw a clear silhouette. He wore a bowler hat and seemed to be in a suit, not so much a thing, but she
Was
could
that
only.
the pocket watch guy though?
So I wondered about that. I ended up making him a hat man simply because the most distinguishing factors were that he was unidentifiable except for a shadow wearing a hat,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and that he stayed a certain distance from her, like never really approached her, stayed on the outside of the door. But the interesting thing was he used to turn all the faucets on in her house.
That's
And
random.
that's
Yeah.
well, and it was interesting because the water would come on and she would know he's near.
Oh, he's there. Yeah.
And then she
That's
just scan, and
that's
that's
like the pocket watch guy. They hear the ticking of the pocket
right, the
watch.
ticking.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's why I sleep in earbuds, everybody. And yeah,
Oh,
I'm
no.
mask. I can't. I listen to Jersey Shore every night to drown out all the voices. I was like, I do not want to hear any
That is wise.
ticking. I don't want to
I
hear.
support it.
Yeah, I was like, no, I need their drama to drown out my drama so that I can sleep. I just can't do it.
Let the ghosts be on their own out there. What they
Yeah.
do behind closed doors is none of my business.
Yeah,
On
exactly. I was like, mm-mm. Live your life, afterlife, and leave me alone.
So, have you had any spirits that have like almost followed you through
Oh,
life?
well, the ghost that I was telling you about earlier from my childhood home, when my mom and dad divorced in 2019, like I felt bad that we were having to like leave her there with my dad. You know, he's not like one of those good guys or anything. So I said out loud, like, I'm sorry that we have to leave you here. Like, I wish you could come with us. And the lampshade, like, three of my aunts saw the lampshade on one of the lamps that we left, like, rattled, like it was waving. I was like, oh, she was waving by. But little did I know she was like, say less, girl. Like, she came with, and
I'm
she
coming
has
with you.
been, yeah, she has been at my house. Or either at my mom, she kind of goes like back and forth. And a lot of people, I don't know if you agree with this, but a lot of people think, oh, well, they're either like stuck in one place or another. I was like, no, they go and do as they please. Like she could be here one day
I
and
think
over
there's
there the
a
next.
wide variety of conditions, and
Right.
you know,
Like
and
rules.
I've always said that
Mhm.
that people are more likely to be haunted than objects, you know, or
Yes, I
places.
agree. I agree with
People are
that.
more likely to have ghosts, and in the grand scheme of things, we're mercifully unaware of them, most people,
Hmm.
and spirits will just follow you around and just sort
Yeah.
of, you know, vicariously live with you. Um,
Hmm.
and you get that sensation with like invisible friends. You know,
Yeah.
there's a cresting period of time at like 6 to 10 when they start to fall off. But it's like, are they falling off, or are we becoming sophisticated enough to tune them out?
Right. Yeah. You just kind of like, they just fade out. But
And if
it,
you kept the door open for them, yeah, they probably follow you all the days of your.
yeah, but I was like, if she's going to be back and forth, then I would rather her be here than with my dad. So
Oh, there you go.
I was like,
No.
it's fine. It's fine. And the other night, she likes to stand like back in this area for some reason. So when I used to have like where the candles are at, I had like those that you had to like twist, like hardcore twist. And she kept turning them on. And typically, like, I'm not like scared of her, but for some reason that was creeping me out because you're probably like me, like I'm still like a skeptic too. Like I try to talk myself out of it, you know, like I don't want to
Yeah.
be like the girl who cried ghost at every little thing that happens. Like I'm trying to be like, you know, could that have been something else? But then to turn it off when I'm having to like crank it 3 times to get it off. So I'm like, let me leave that alone. So I came in here to turn the light off one night and this was like 2 or 3 nights ago. I saw her standing here and I haven't seen her like full body in probably like 20 years. So I could just kind of like, I like looked at her, but I wasn't like, hello, you know, I just kind of went about my way because I didn't want her to just be like, this is what we do now. And I'm like, no, 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 you know, like, let's not, you know, because if you're like me, like, I don't mind seeing them, but I just don't want to see them constantly. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, and I feel like too, like once they know that you can see them, then they're just like, so, you know, like, show up and tell you all of their stuff. But I don't hear them. I see them like memories. Like
Mm.
I can look at
Okay.
like a photo and when I see like something that's happened in the house or whatever, like if someone shows me a photo of their home, it's like I was there when whatever happened was there or whoever's there. So I see them. And then if they look at me, then I know they're active. And then if they don't, it's just like a residual, but they're not like, hi, I'm Susan. Nice to meet you or anything like that. I just see them like I'm remembering what had happened there. It's weird.
Sure.
So do you hear them? Do they talk to you?
Oh, unfortunately. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Better you than me, girl.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. Sometimes, and this has been a new development in my abilities, they come through in dreams.
Mm,
And the first time this happened, it was a very intense and bizarre experience. Because where we are now, because of the podcast studio being in shambles,
yeah,
for the
yeah,
building, we're in my kitchen.
yeah.
And
Very
so,
cute.
thank you. But yeah, we had a spirit in the house. His name's Jim. He's here still.
Yeah,
He passed away because he was murdered in this house.
nice. Okay.
They never found his murderers. And I knew he was here, and we could all tell that he was trying to get our attention because I saw him, and then he was leaving our back door open all the time. And JT, who's my husband, by the way,
Oh, okay.
yeah, JT's a security freak. He's very intense about doors being locked at all times, especially
Mhm.
if we live downtown.
Yeah.
Um, so he would always get upset because he's like, "Why are you leaving the door open?" You know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm leaving the door open." Until one day we were both in the living room and we go in there, doors wide open. So we knew, okay, it's the ghost. And after that experience, I had a dream where I was Jim and I lived through his murder.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah. And so JT woke me up because I was screaming in my sleep. And when I woke up, I saw Jim standing in the corner of the room. And I look at him and I'm like, Jim's showing me things I don't want to see. And yeah, so that's a fairly new development.
So you're like
Uh,
ghost quantum leaping is what's happening?
yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's like it's a new thing where when spirits know that I could see them, they show me things about their life.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Well, and you
because
figure even in the most classic sense of ghost stories, that is a part of what it takes to move on.
Mhm.
That the
Yeah.
thing that anchors them,
Mhm.
the thing that keeps them in a place, oftentimes they have to have acknowledged. They have to have someone, it's
Right.
it's like, figure out who did the crime, or find the bones or whatever it is. But it might be even as simple as just that simple acknowledgement that another living soul can bear witness
Mhm.
to
Right.
what I'm going through. Um,
Yeah.
and so I do think that that's a big part of what you're experiencing is, uh, in the last 30 plus years, people have gotten much more in touch with the idea of spirits and spirituality and how spirits move and interact, that
Mhm.
it's become almost public consciousness, to the point at which even ghosts probably know, oh, I just got to tell you,
Mhm.
I just got to tell you what's up, and maybe I'll be free.
Right. I use the example a lot too because I get, which you guys may get this too, but I get a lot of like ghosts aren't real. There's
Mhm.
no such thing as ghosts. And I'm like, okay, well, some can see and some can't see. I was like, just like calculus. I cannot do calculus. Like, there's no way, but I'm not going to be like, those numbers aren't right. You don't know what you're talking,
Yeah.
if you can't do it, you can't do it. And then I'm like, how did you end up on my stuff anyway? If you're not interested in this, like the more you comment, the more you're going to see me. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just they feel like if they can't do it, or sometimes they're scared of it, so they have to talk themselves out of it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if they can make you believe that it's not, then they can believe that it's not. Is what I
Well,
feel like
and
goes on a lot.
that actually goes both ways when you think
Mhm.
about it, because for every person who's so much a skeptic that they have to disprove everything, there are people
Mhm.
who believe so earnestly and try to get people to believe, not because of the truth, but
Right.
because they need to feel validated in their experience. They need somebody else to say, yes, that experience was true, and you are experiencing this,
Mhm.
because it feels so isolating and so lonely. And oftentimes you're like, I'm not crazy. This happened, and then
Yeah.
sometimes you come off as crazy trying to prove
I know.
Exactly.
I always say that,
crazy.
like, if this was old time Salem, I would have already been on the stake. They would have been like, witch, like 2 seconds. I'd be like, wait, wait, wait. No, I'm just trying to help you out a little bit. But yeah, it's, you, I think it is getting easier to talk about it now because even like I want to say when I was in my 20s, I wouldn't tell a lot of people unless I trusted them because you don't want people to think you're crazy when you
Mhm.
can do it. And then I do feel better though, like if I'm like, oh, this is how like haunted or happened in your house, and then people come back with like receipts, like, oh, funny you should say this. This was like a murder suicide in 1990, and you had no idea where this house was at, and answered immediately. And then sometimes you may be like this too, where you're like, how do I do this? Because everybody's like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I just
It just happened.
can. Yeah, I just can. I don't know. I wish I knew, but there's no like study guide to it really either.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I had a very similar feeling with it. Like honestly, talking starting this podcast was the first time I ever talked publicly at all about
Mm-hmm.
seeing spirits. I I'm sure you did too. It's like as a kid seeing spirits, people were like, "You're freaky." I want nothing to do with that. And so I was like, Okay, cool. I'm gonna keep that to just like me and my family, because my family, like, they all believed, because it was just too many weird things that would happen, or
Right.
too many things that I would know that they're like, there's no reason why this small child should know this information. And so
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like I'm just gonna keep it to my family and like a couple friends and stuff, because like even after we started this podcast, I've had people who I was friends with, in the past reach out, and they're like, I had no idea
Right.
that you could see spirits. And I was like, well, I didn't tell you for a reason. So it's
Oh yeah, you have to choose very carefully who you share that kind of information with. You're not going to just, hi, how are you? I see ghosts.
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't
And now we
work.
just like put it out there for the world. We're just like, yeah, here you go.
So
That's how.
I don't see ghosts. I
Oh,
don't have any preternatural abilities in that realm. I'm what I call hyper vigilant, which means I'm just scared of everything, and that puts me in a heightened alertness of
you
things.
sound like my
I have
husband. Yeah, he's the same
I've
way.
seen things, I've heard things, but it is not the gift. It is
Right.
the
Yeah.
paranoia,
Right. Yeah. Oh, you're automatically like, you just assume everywhere is haunted, and that's just a safer way to go for you.
What is that?
Yeah. No.
That is a coat rack.
Yeah.
What is that?
Relax. It's a vacuum cleaner. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
But one out of 10 times they're like, oh no,
Yeah.
that is, yeah, you're looking at something terrifying. Oh, good.
Oh,
That's why
good.
you make friends with someone that can see it, so that
Right,
you just
exactly.
like kind of like you
Nobody
stand
gets
behind her
surprised.
and you're like, guide me through the path. Yeah.
Exactly. So since you're in Kentucky, did you ever go to Waverly Hills Sanatorium?
Yes, and I just did a podcast. I just dropped it today, my podcast about Waverly Hills, because I've been doing like across the U.S. or whatever, and then I accidentally skipped Kentucky, which was ironic because I'm like consciously my brain's like just move on past. But I went back during COVID. It was right when they were kind of like trying to do like the haunted houses again, but
Right.
not really. So they mixed in kind of like a mini tour with the jump scare like factor of it. And the thing about that place, the creepiest thing I would say is like like the crawler thing that they've got in there, and the
Right.
creeper. And then but while I was on that tour, my brother, who does not react, he something pulled my hair, and not just like slightly, like pulled my hair back, like made my head go back. So I immediately like took an elbow to the brother. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, that wasn't me, like I didn't touch your hair. And so then we like had a sibling argument. I was like, I know you pulled my hair. Like, there's no one behind me but you. And he's like, no, I didn't do it. And I got a really weird vibe in the morgue and then of the surgery room. But while we were in the morgue, the sensory, like the motion sensor went off. And it even kind of scared the guy that was giving the tour. And I was like, he's either like a really great actor, or something's going on. So I asked him, I was like, do you got somebody back there like setting it off? And he's like, no, I'm going to show you how close you have to get to it. So he was like 15 feet away, and he had to be within like 6 feet to make the light go off, like for the morgue or whatever. And you think about it, you're like, why would that part of it be the most haunted? But what I was saying about on my podcast about Waverly is the horrors of like, they're like, you can't breathe really. So we're just going to take this chunk out and just hope for the best. Or like, let me will you out and let the sun hit you real quick, and maybe that'll work. So you had like all of this stuff going on, but heavy, heavy, heavy up on that like 502, that room
Yep.
that's,
Mm-hmm.
oh, rough, heavy up there. And there's so many different stories about it, but I even if you go on their website, they have a photo posted, and it's like two shadow people standing out on the little like outside part, where they would put like the swing sets and stuff, if you've seen it. And there's a story that like one of the nurses like jumped from there, but then they say like a patient pushed her. So I'm like, is that just like a residual like going over and over again? Like, who is that guy? Did he like shove her out there? But I everybody that's been there, I've never heard anyone say like I went and nothing happened. So I
Right.
really want to go back and do an overnight there. So I'm going to look into trying to get that done in the first of the year to do like an overnight. But
You
yeah,
definitely should.
yeah, it would be fun, I think, and yeah, like a scary fun. And then I'm the one that I laugh when I get scared. So It's like people will say all the time, like, "Oh, you're not really scared or this isn't real because you're laughing." I was like, "No, that's like my trauma response, like humor and like laugh my way through it. Like, that's just what I do." So if I'm laughing, it's scary. Like there's something going on there.
Yeah, if we recently went earlier this year, and our biggest encounter, I don't know if they told you about Tim
Yeah,
when yeah.
the ball. Yeah. Did he roll the ball for you guys too,
Oh
or?
no, no, not the child. The
Tim,
misogynistic man. Well,
Oh,
probably pulled your hair
yeah, that's who I thought it was.
because that's exactly what he kept threatening to do. Didn't he say
where
he was
would? Yeah,
seven
where
hours
was that
there?
at? Like, do you remember what part that he's at?
So we first encountered him right outside the morgue,
Hmm.
but he followed us the whole night. We kept
Okay,
where he was very aggressive. Was it the second floor where he's really aggressive?
It
near
was,
that elevator.
Yes.
That like
yes, yeah, it was on the second
nice.
floor. I
Okay, yeah,
want
that
to
was
say.
probably him then, because it was right there when they were talking about the guy that or is he the homeless guy that passed
So,
away with the dog?
well, okay, no, but that is the story of that is of that area. Tim seemed to be, and again, we're going solely on like Estes method kind of
Right.
conversation. He
Hmm.
seemed to be someone who worked there at one point,
Or he thinks
Oh,
he worked
or
there.
at the very least thought he was there.
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and he definitely was down on women, did not like women at all,
Hmm.
Oh
and
my gosh.
was always threatening certain violence. And I do remember him distinctly saying he was going to drag you out
Yeah.
by your hair.
Yeah.
Oh, he like jerk. I mean, I'm talking like, everything was fine. And then like my whole head, like, like whipped back. And it wasn't just like a slight, it was, he jerked it hard enough to where it like whipped my head, like it hurt my neck. I'm like,
Yeah.
what in the world? Yeah, that was rough. I need to go somewhere with you guys. Like, it would be
Yeah.
fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we need
Yeah,
to set that up.
We
we
might
would
plan
love to
another
do
trip
that.
to Waverly, actually.
Totally. Yeah.
When are y'all going there? I
No,
want
I
to
was
go.
saying we might have to.
Oh yeah, like I'm with all the time. Like Satori, she reached out to me because I was talking about like the Conjuring House and all of that
Oh,
stuff,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
told her, yeah, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we need to get together. Next time we're near Kentucky." I was like, "Girl," I was like, "I don't have any criminal records. I'm free to leave the state. I can leave and go wherever I want to go. Like I can meet you somewhere to go do these things." But yeah, I'm just getting into it, so I don't really have like a group of people to go and do things with. So it would be fun. I think we'd have a good time.
Definitely
Totally.
keep you on our list.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, and we've briefly got to speak with Satori after all the Conjuring nonsense happened and stuff. So maybe when they open their museum, that would be a good time to do like a big
Oh yeah, we should
investigation.
all get together because she joined one of my lives and was talking about it and everything. And then I've talked to her dad, Jason, a few times, but which I was geeking out about because I've been watching him since the jump, back when they came.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this is fun for me. And then I was so excited to get to do this, and I was like, no way, like when they reach out, and then I'm almost to the point where when I get emails, I'm like, is this real? Is this like I don't know. I was like, I have to do everything myself. So when he was like, okay, how do you know how to do this? I was like, no, I don't. It's a miracle that I can even function on like TikTok and Facebook and stuff. I don't know how I post the things that I do post. So yeah, I'm learning, but I think it would be fun to hang out with you guys and go and hunt the ghost. I
Ab-
wanted to see if we see the same thing. That's
Yeah.
what would be
Right.
fun for me. Yeah. Or
That's
like if we can see the same thing and then I want to hear them like through you. Like if you can, I want to see if like what the vibes I get when I see them of like what happened, if it's the same as what they're telling you, that would be really cool to find out.
What would be interesting too, is to do an Estes method with the two of us because I've never done it with somebody who also has abilities.
Same. Yeah, I've done
Yeah.
it with my daughter, but it's different. She can't, yeah, see them or anything. So
Right.
that would be fun. Yeah, that would be cool to see. I bet
We're
they would be like too I said they don't know boundaries sometimes,
That's very true.
yeah, so I'm like, oh, but yeah, it would be all for science. I would like to
All for
just for
science.
the knowledge of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can definitely make that happen. That sounds fantastic.
Go.
I'm trying to think like where's a place that's on your list that you've been wanting to go investigate?
Well, I'd like to go back, of course, to Waverly, but like Trans Allegheny, I would like
Trans
to go
Allegheny.
there.
Yeah.
I think that would be like a good
Eastern
one that's like
Penitentiary?
interactive.
Mhm.
Do what?
Eastern State Penitentiary.
Oh yeah, that would be a good one too. Somewhere that would, I think we
Tell-
would get the best results on the things where the most things have happened. You know, like where it's not somewhere where it's just like, oh, occasionally we get, you know, something here or there. It would be cool to go somewhere. But yeah, Trans Allegheny, I think would be a good one. But oh my God, I'm setting myself up because I always say that like any like asylum, you know how like where I have ADHD, so the boundaries sometimes are getting too close, and I feel like they didn't understand boundaries before, and they really don't now. You know what I mean? Like it,
Like,
like if they didn't when they were alive, then all rules are gone, you know, at this point. So I just feel like they would just like as soon as my like foot stepped in the door, they'd be like on my back. It would be like a backpack or something. So it'd be interesting for sure.
the one in Trans Allegheny that I've always thought was the creepiest is they have an entity that I think they call it demonic. I don't know if it actually is or not, but it's called the wolf.
The wolf. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I want to
Oh, I
see
haven't heard about I
that.
haven't heard about the wolf. No,
Like a
I've just heard
video of
about
it.
like no.
Yeah, they have a video of it and it's like crawling on the ceiling. And I think it does it on purpose, personally. I think it,
Right.
Freak out.
yeah, but
Yeah.
still super creepy. And I would like to see that.
As
Yeah,
long as it stays there, I would be okay to see it. I just don't want like the wolf getting in my back seat, you know, on the way home or anything. I was
exactly.
like, I'm always like, no, you gotta stay here. Can't come with me. But yeah, that'd be cool. Where are you guys going? What places do you have coming up?
We're
I don't-
still
yeah.
currently like throwing around ideas because we have a,
The Lemp Mansion was on the list.
Mhm.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah.
yeah,
And we'd like to find other places that maybe aren't as celebrated, you know, because it's great to go to a place that is well known, of course.
Right. Yeah.
It would be nice to go to places that are lesser known so that it's not so tread on, that it's not
Right. Well,
material that you're just really reinforcing what everyone else has already said, but discovering things.
right. That's how I am too. Like I get tired of telling the same like haunted bridge story, you know, of like
Exactly.
yeah, you know, or like the penitentiaries, you know, like you're like, okay, we get it. You
Oh,
know, like yeah, you're rattling the cage, you know, you throw things, you know, I'm like you, I want to go. I think that's just where we research it so much, but like I want to go somewhere where you're not expecting it, or like the common things aren't going to happen, you know, where it's like, oh, they see so and so roll the ball down the hallway. So then you take a ball and you just sit there, you know, like I want something
exactly.
new to happen, you know, something fun like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a place in Maryland. And the town's name is
Oh,
completely beyond me right now. But we had a ghost mail come in
Yeah.
from one of our listeners, and she lives in this town and has lived in this town for her entire life, and bought a property that is partially on the estate of this old plantation where
Yeah.
this man was just like an absolute sadist,
Yeah.
you know,
Nightmare human.
true nightmare human, was killing people, like killing his slaves, burying them on the
Oh
property.
yeah.
Crazy things have happened on her property. And so we've been trying to figure out a way to
Yeah, we should
get our
rekindle
fingers
all
into
that.
that, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, y'all got like the people. I have no people, you know, so like,
But you can join us. That's
yeah,
so
I'll have to come because you're like, oh, I'm trying to get my people to set this up. And I'm just like, can we set that up? I don't know. Maybe we'll have to like, it's just me. That's nobody but me. It's like when they're like, can we speak to the manager? And people just spin around and they're like, hello. That's
hello.
what that's me on everything. So yeah, I just, you know, contact my people. It's just me. Send an email. We can set it up.
Send it to
Yeah, I'm
me.
down to go whenever you guys want to go. Just say
Totally.
when. Yeah, it'd be
Awesome.
fun.
Well, thanks, Tiff. We are out of time, but thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully we can make that happen because I think that would be really fun.
No, it'd be fantastic.
So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have anything that you wanted to mention? And what's your handles and on your social media?
Yeah. Everything on every platform is Tiff's Ghost Talk. So you can find me that way. Follow me on all socials. And like I said, I have a podcast, but it's only on Spotify right now. So trying to get that going. But And I currently have a YouTube, but I'm horrible about posting on it. So mostly TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, those places. Follow me if you can. And you guys are going to have to tell me how to end this because I have no idea.
That's totally fine. But I'm going to throw us one last outro, but thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Go follow Tiff on all the things. And if you want us to go do an investigation with Tiff,
Yeah.
put it down in the comments. And if you have a suggestion of where you want to see us go, also put that in the comments.
Great.
But thanks y'all again and stay spooky. Oh, do you want to open that on camera? Okay. We're going to open our
We have a
box.
box.
Yeah, I was just about to say, are you going to open that box? I kind of want to know what's in there.
Okay. So JT reminded me I have this box. So our friends at and That's Why We Drink sent us, I believe, a little PR box for their new book that they just came out with. We're going to be talking all about it when we do our episode with them. But it's called The Haunted Road Atlas Next Stop, because it is the second edition of this book. And they basically talk about all different towns and different hauntings and whatnot. True
crime and hauntings.
Yep. So it's really cute. The box is really cute. It's got some like little artwork on it where it's like a cow in a spaceship abducting aliens, which I love. I love that twist. So yeah, let's see what they sent real quick. Oh, there's so much string. There's
It is well packaged.
and is well packaged. Oh, cute. All right.
It's a
We
copy
have-
of the book.
We have some more things. Well, there's this, and then
Yes.
there's some more things in here.
Oh my. Oh, hey.
Ooh,
That's
a
that's
tote.
A tote. So that everyone
Fun.
knows, you never go wrong with a tote.
Never.
If you're looking for that perfect PR package thing, totes.
Tote.
Okay.
Where it's at.
It's totes cool.
I like the design on there too. That's cool.
Yes, and that's why we drink cauldron.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I
Very-
like that.
We also, because I think this might be a journal. We've got a little pencil case and some pencils that say, and that's why we drink. Let's crack into it. Let's crack into it. Some little pencils.
Very nice.
Got a pencil
Very
case.
nice indeed.
A nice little note that says spooky salutations. We hope you love the book. And signed from M and Christine with a cute little card. We got some stickers. Or wait, hold on. Is this a temporary tattoo?
It is a
This
temporary tattoo.
Oh, awesome.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so they're like little ghosty
I love
skeleton
that.
temporary tattoos. So one for you and one for me, Chris. We'll wear
Oh,
them when
excellent.
they're on the show.
Yeah.
We'll show up with our tattoos. And then last is a another copy of the book. So
Excellent.
Chris, you get to keep this one
Yay.
because I have the other one.
So here it is, A Haunted Road Atlas, Next Stop. Yes, these are wonderful books, by the way, because they're kind of like they're encyclopedic, which I always love. And they visit all these places and they give you a true crime story and a haunting story.
Oh,
And then
awesome.
they pair them with drinks.
Nice.
And that's always
It
Yeah.
is really cute.
That
so
is the
when we're
best.
doing it, we'll be drinking alcohol and milkshakes.
Yeah, Chris gets a milkshake and I think I'm getting the wine.
And I think this is a package that like people like fans are able to buy. I think,
Oh,
and
is
yeah,
Very
it's just
cool.
it's an example.
Awesome.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Well, if that is the case, we'll link it whenever it is put on October 3rd. We'll link it for y'all so that you can go get your spooky stuff too, because this is super cute.
That is very cute.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Christine and M, for sending us this lovely little package. And thank you, Tiff, again for joining us for this little unboxing. if you
Thanks
will.
for having me. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess I already did my outro. So my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
Stay spooky, y'all.